Hello everybody and welcome to this video. Today we are talking about the use of geometrical shapes in the movie Alita Battle Angel. In addition to the dialogues and the actions, the story is told by the shapes. Even if we don't focus on them, they help us to enter the universe. With the dialogues, we understand the story, but with the shapes, we feel it. They generate an atmosphere, they carry a message. If the message is well delivered, this use of shapes contributes to the overall quality of the film. So the story is based upon the opposition between two cities, ZALEM and Iron City. ZALEM is in the sky and looks good. Iron City is on the ground and appears to be a giant slum. ZALEM is said to be a perfect place, most desirable. Its name refers to the heavenly Jerusalem, a place of peace. Yes, that's the meaning of the word ZALEM. It's a place of wealth, science, happiness, and eternal life. Whereas Iron City is a place of violence, of industrial work, poverty, and certain death. It is a Gehenna. The shapes used to describe the two cities underline this opposition. For good understanding, we need to make a detour to cosmology. What is cosmology? It is the way we understand and represent the universe. It's about astronomy, but also philosophy, and more commonly, symbols. Here I'm not talking about some hidden knowledge or secret science, but about universally shared symbols. In the usual or traditional cosmologies, the circle is the sign that represents the sky. On the opposite, the square is the sign for the earth. Why is it so? And why is it so widespread? The circle means the sky, and more broadly, what is heavenly and even divine. It is because the sky elements are circular, like the sun, the moon, or the rainbow. The movement of the stars, constantly observed by the ancients until now, that movement is circular too. That's why in most traditions, the circle is a symbol of the sky, because the sky is the same for everybody. You have this in Babylon, in China, in Egypt, in the ancient Greece, in pre-Columbian America, and almost everywhere on Earth. The circle means the heaven. It's the symbol of the deity, of life renewal, creativity and movement, because the circular shape allows the movement. On the opposite, the square means the Earth. Why is it so? Because of the positions of the sun during the day. The east is where the sun rises, the west where it sets, the south where it reaches its highest elevation, and the north is the place where the sun never goes. And this is exactly the same worldwide, except if you live on the North Pole or the South Pole, but there are not plenty of people there. As a consequence, the life environment will be figured according to these four cardinal points. And if you want to optimize the light or the warmth in your building, you will build it according to these directions, won't you? That's why most of the major human buildings are aligned on these 4 points. The square, as a consequence, is a natural symbol of the earth. It is the place of humans, the sign of control, stability, because the square makes the movement impossible, which is good in some cases. If you want to keep something or someone safe, you will put it or put him in a square. As a conclusion, the circle, which is the sign of the sky, refers to the deity and to freedom. It is superior to the square, which means the earth, place of the simple men who tend to control the things they can. This cosmology is widely spread. Look at these Roman mosaics. The saints are represented with a circular aureole, whereas the living persons, those who are still on earth, have a square one. Yes, at that time they were still on earth because they are the donors of these mosaics. But it's not only in the West or in the Christian iconography. Some places are meant to allow the meeting between earth and heaven. These places are sacred. You see in those places, those monuments, the square is topped by a circle or by a dome. One of the best examples is the Temple of Heaven in Beijing, China. It is perfectly circular and it is set on a square place. Very good, you will tell me. And so what? Wasn't it supposed to be a video about the movie Alita Battle Angel? Yes, it is. So now, let's move to the film. You remember? ZALEM is the sky city, it's the perfect one. And that's its shape. It's a perfect disc, drawn exclusively with organized curved lines. It seems to be spinning, but yet in a reasonable movement. Iron City is the opposite. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't give any general view of the Grand City, but the pictures we have are enough to state this city is definitely a polygon limited by straight lines. It is surrounded by high walls. Thus, it's impossible to get in or out without permission. It is a jail. The city map of ZALEM is original but yet organized. Everything seems to be made in order to ease the movement, in order to ease the circulation. The streets look like blood vessels, they foster life. On the opposite, Iron City is a complete mess, growing in anarchy under the pressure of these huge iron tubes. Everything there is straight-lined. There is no room for imagination. Life, and especially human life, seems to be barely tolerated. It grows as an infection. Let's compare now the design of the buildings. In ZALEM, the glorious sky city, the buildings are built with curved lines and even spheres. There is room between buildings. Despite it looks like a large city, there is no feeling of overload. Whereas in Iron City you find only straight lines, vertical and horizontal. All seems to be strangled by this stiffness, and everything seems about to collapse under its own weight. It is almost everywhere the same view. The people don't live in Iron City, they pile up in Iron City. This building frenzy has even hidden the old cathedral. On the towers of it, there used to be domes. But those lines are now broken. There is no longer spirituality, no longer hope in Iron City. And what about the people, the dwellers? How do they look like? This is a body conceived by a ZALEM citizen for a ZALEM citizen with ZALEM knowledge and expertise. It is called the doll body. It is elegant, gracious. It's made only with curved lines. It is decorated with refined Renaissance-like flowers. It looks like a classical dancer's body. Compare it now to a standard Iron City body. That Iron City body is ugly, awkward, rough, rude. It has nothing elegant, nothing superior. It's made only with brutal straight lines. It looks actually like a soulless tool. The ZALEM body looks like a unique goldsmith work. The Iron City one just looks like an assembly line average quality product. In some cases, there are some curved lines in Iron City bodies, but when it occurs, the result is often a total mess. But nevertheless, there is a place in Iron City where the curved lines are quite successful. It is the MOTORBALL Stadium. Its location in the landscape reveals how important this sport is for the life of the city. It is central, unavoidable. It takes the place maybe the cathedral used to have before. And it's all made with curved lines. From outside, it even looks like a roller coaster. It is a place made for emotions, for strong feelings. People get there as if they were going to church, and in that place, they worship their beloved champions. As Hugo says, it is the temple of MOTORBALL. But that fake religion is a parody. It is the opium of the people. It is a leverage used by ZALEM to control the enslaved population of Iron City, giving them something to dream of. Bread and games, said Julius Caesar. MOTORBALL is an escape. The serious business takes place somewhere else. Where? At the factory. The factory actually ruled the city. Look at this building. It looks like a battleship. With its thick, brutal straight lines, It looks coming from a mid-50s Stalinian dictatorship. It imposes the burden of its power on the back of the inhabitants. Let's have a look at the logo. The logo expresses the philosophy of the organization. In the center of it, there is a symbol that looks like a compass. It means the Earth. It also looks like a 4-branch star, symbol of dream, symbol of hope, a promise of happiness. But that symbol is topped by a rectangle stating without any doubt that Earth and those dreams are under strict control. That promising star can't ascend any higher. Moving inside, we get to the main hall. That hall is dark and cold, only drawn with straight lines. That pointed triangle is directed to the sky, it's directed to ZALEM. Because everything the factory makes is made for ZALEM. And if you want to take some incentive, then the control quickly appears. Now let's have a look at the command deck of this building. Upstairs is this room, which is Vector's office. Who is Vector? Vector is the manager of the factory, and thus the manager of the whole city. Being so, we can expect him to be the ironest of all the Iron City dwellers. And it is the case. His personal office reveals his personality. Those stained glass windows with sharp angles tell he is cold-blooded, ambitious, aggressive, ready to harm and even to kill anyone who happens to be on his road. His entire office is made with straight, cold geometrical lines. The walls, the door glasses, the desk, the wall lamps. But it's not the worst. The worst are his few personal objects. Usually, the decorative objects in a room tell about the personality of the owner, what he likes and what he believes in. Look at these. If the sphere normally represents the deity or the supernatural or the spirituality, that one shows a Vector has given up that dimension. He is a complete nihilist. Don't rise up your heads. There is nothing to see up there. And look at those angels. They look like death angels. They look like fallen angels. If Alita, the battle angel, has fallen physically, Vector for himself has fallen morally. He is a damned soul. With all these symbols, we don't need long dialogues to understand what drives him. Only one short sentence states it: I'd rather rule in hell than serve in heaven. This is for ZALEM and Iron City. The opposite shapes tell the opposition between these two worlds. But the universe in Alita Battle Angel is not limited to these cities. Now another civilization enters the story. This civilization is the URM, the United Republics of Mars. This confederation used to be ZALEM's enemy 300 years ago. Whereas Iron City stands no chance against ZALEM, the level of civilization of the URM made it able to challenge the Sky City. The URM is another heavenly power, and this is told once again by the shapes. These are URM soldiers, and they are training where? In spheres. The sphere is their natural environment, and so they are somehow heavenly creatures. Look at their spaceships. They are streamlined, designed with curved lines only. In one of those ships, the screens are incurved with rounded sides. Even small elements like the password keypad avoids the sharp corners. We are definitely in a superior level of civilization. At the core of this ship, we find that large plasma sphere. It looks like something sacred, and it also looks like a maternal womb. It must hold something very precious. Indeed, it protects a perfect body. The floor pattern warns whoever approaches he is entering some sacred shrine reserved to some few elected ones. By the way, that perfect sphere and circles holding a perfectly proportionate body, doesn't it ring a bell? This body, called a berserker body, designed for fight, reveals the level of technology reached by the ERM. As the doll body seen before, it is all drawn with curved lines, allowing great flexibility. There are no angles, no squares that could stop the movements. It is not the body of a classical dancer, but the one of an athletic fighter. We understand spontaneously this type of body matches the level of technology of ZALEM, whereas the standard Iron City body, with its straight lines and rude angles, stands no chance against it. We can also quickly check the movements. Alita usually fights with three-dimensional circular movements, whereas the others rely on basic two-dimensional straight movements. She happens to be defeated once, and it's when her trajectory is a straight line, and her opponent adopts a rotative attack. The circle is definitely superior to the square. We owe those beautiful Baroque choreographies to Bill Pope, who was in charge with the photography. He is also the master who choreographed the movement in the movie Matrix some 20 years ago. Having explored the circle and the square, we now need a shape that allows the passage from Earth to heaven. The square means the Earth, the circle means the heaven. When they match, they have 8 common points. These 8 points draw an octagon. The octagon is halfway between square and circle. Therefore, it will symbolize the gate, the passage, the transition between the two worlds. We find this everywhere because it is natural. You have this in the Chinese culture. You also have this in Southeast Asia, in India as well. Let's have a closer look. The Taj Mahal is built on a square basis and ends up with a sphere. Inside, the main chamber is an octagon. That chamber is a tomb. Death, actually, is commonly seen as a passage from earth to heaven. The Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem is another strong example. This beautiful mosque is built around a rock. According to the Muslim tradition, from that rock, the Prophet was taken to heaven and met God himself. This place is considered as a major gate between earth and heaven. Many Christian baptisteries are octagons too. For the Christians, baptism is indeed a new birth. It grants eternal life and makes the new baptized a citizen of heaven. Commonly, the octagon means the transition to a higher level, the beginning of a new life. In the movie Alita Battle Angel, there is an octagon. That octagon happens to be a crucial gate in the heroine's journey. Crossing this octagon will give her a new identity, a new destiny, it's a new birth. Given the huge tradition around the octagon, it seems unlikely the production team chose this shape by accident. It's because many of them have at least a license, sometimes a master degree or even a PhD in arts. And so they know this kind of things. And even if it's not the case, it's another sign that shows the meaning of these shapes is natural. The shapes tell the story nearly as much as the dialogues. With the shapes, you feel the story. You're involved in it. It spares us some long and complicated explanations like the one I am giving you now, and you are patient enough to listen. Once again, these shapes are not from some esoteric hidden science. You can Google them if you want. As you've seen, those shapes are taken from our natural environment. It's where we live, what we experience every day. That's why you get the message, even if you have not read many books about architecture. In a single word, it works. But to be honest, the use of shapes, symbolical shapes, is not uncommon in movies. What makes Alita Battle Angel exceptional is not the use of shapes, or the CGI, or the actors' performances, or the such endearing characters. What makes it exceptional is the addition of all these qualities and even others together in a single movie. Remember, this project has been maturing for almost 20 years, like good wine. It has been thought and then accomplished by a dream team of world-class masters with the help of leading companies. That's why this movie is so well done. They are great professionals and they are masters. But in my humble opinion, Alita Battle Angel still has the potential to be even more artistic. Some scenes, like the wake-up scene, are very beautiful and very promising. Some movies have at the same time great action scenes, great stories and high artistic standards that would fit perfectly the story. I sincerely hope the potential of Alita will come to light in a great trilogy. If you want arts and culture to develop, be a patron. Support this movie. Even if it is somehow pop culture, it does matter. Because the masterpieces grow only on a rich pop culture ground. If you know more than I do, which is not difficult, then please write articles, make videos, share your knowledge, spread the good word. To finish, I would like to thank those people who have helped me in making this video, namely Dennis Wan, Alita Rising and Kowalczyk K. Thank you guys. I also want to thank YouTubers The Last 300, Darkido and Jaya Nice for having publicly supported my work and for the great job they do. Thank you all of you who have shared my previous video about the artistic legacy of Alita Battle Angel. I'm glad you've liked it. And also I take much pleasure reading your comments, even if they contradict what I'm saying. This way I learn. So now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you very much everybody for watching and keep your eyes wide open.